Is that big enough to see? You want it bigger?
It's good.
No, I think I got it.
Bigger?
No, I can do it.
Okay. Okay. Take it off, James.
My dear Wormwood, I wonder you should ask me whether it is essential to keep the patient in ignorance of your own existence. That question, at least for the present phase of the struggle, has been answered for us by the High Command. Our policy, for the moment, is to conceal ourselves. Of course, this has not always been so. We are really faced with a cruel dilemma. When the humans disbelieve in our existence, we lose all pleasing results of direct terrorism, and we make no magicians. On the other hand, when they believe in us, we cannot make them materialists and skeptics, at least not yet. I have great hopes that we shall learn in due time how to emotionalize and mythologize their science to such an extent that what it is, in effect, belief in us, though not under that name. And it will creep in while the human mind remains closed to the belief in the enemy. The life force, the worship of sex, and some aspects of psychoanalysis may here prove useful. If once we can produce our perfect work, the materialist magician, the man, not using but veritably worshiping what he vaguely calls forces while denying the existence of spirits, then the end of the war will be in sight. But in the meantime, we must obey our orders. I do not think you will have much difficulty in keeping the patient in the dark. The fact that devils are predominantly comic figures in the modern imagination will help you. If any faint suspicion of your existence begins to arise in his mind, suggest to him a picture of something in red tights and persuade him that since he cannot believe in that, it is an old textbook method of confusing them, he therefore cannot believe in you. I had not forgotten my promise to consider whether we should make the patient an extreme patriot or an extreme pacifist. All extremes, except extreme devotion to the enemy, are to be encouraged. Not always, of course, but at this period. Some ages are lukewarm and complacent, and then it is our business to soothe them yet faster asleep. Other ages, of which the present is one, are unbalanced and prone to faction, and it is our business to inflame them. Any small coterie bound together by some interest which other men dislike or ignore tends to develop inside itself a hothouse mutual admiration, and towards the outer world a great deal of pride and hatred which is entertained without shame because the cause is its sponsor and it is thought to be impersonal. Even when the little group exists originally for the enemy's own purposes, this remains true. We want the church to be small, not only that fewer men may know the enemy, but also that those who do may acquire the uneasy intensity and the defensive self-righteousness of a secret society or a clique. The church herself is, of course, heavily defended, and we have never quite yet succeeded in giving her all the characteristics of a faction, but subordinate factions within her have often produced admirable results, from the parties of Paul and of Apollos at Corinth down to the high and low parties in the Church of England. If your patient can be induced to become a conscientious objector, he will automatically find himself one of a small, vocal, organized, unpopular society, and the effects of this on one so new to Christianity will almost certainly be good. But only almost certainly. Has he had serious doubts about the lawfulness of serving in a just war before this present war of serving began? Is he a man of great physical courage, so great that he will have no half-conscious misgivings about the real motives of his pacifism? Can he, when nearest to honesty, no human is ever very near, feel fully convinced that he is actuated wholly by the desire to obey the enemy? If he is that sort of man, his pacifism will probably not do us much good, and the enemy will probably protect him from the usual consequences of belonging to a sect. Your best plan in that case would be to attempt a sudden, confused, emotional crisis from which he might emerge as an uneasy convert to patriotism. Such things can often be managed, But if he is the man I take him to be, try pacifism. Whichever he adopts, your main task will be the same. Let him begin by treating the patriotism or the pacifism as part of his religion. Then let him, under the influence of partisan spirit, come to regard it as the most important part. Then quietly and gradually nurse him on to the stage at which the religion becomes merely a part of the cause, in which Christianity is valued chiefly because of the excellent arguments it can produce in favor of the British war effort or of pacifism. The attitude which you want to guard against is that in which temporal affairs are treated primarily as material for obedience. Once you have made the world an end and faith a means, you have almost won your man, and it makes very little difference what kind of worldly end he is pursuing, provided that meetings, pamphlets, policies, movements, causes, and crusades matter more to him than prayers and sacraments and charity. He is ours. And the more religious on those terms, the more securely ours. I could show you a pretty cageful down here. Your affectionate uncle, ScrewTape.
That was a performance. That was good. That was good. You need a bottle of water?
Not a bad cold read.
Yeah, that was pretty good. That was really good. Oh, man, that's it. I'm not reading the Bible ever again. James is going to do it all. Okay.
Maybe out loud.
Yeah, out loud, yeah. Okay. So,
It was the King James version of ScrewTape.
yeah, that was the King James. That was the authorized King James.
That was the authorized version, yes.
So, what was the method that ScrewTape was recommending to Wormwood?
Again, he was confused.
When you start on
Keep him confused. How was he confusing him this time? What was he trying to get him to do?
focus on being a pacifist, or to get him preoccupied with different things, different religiosities, different
What's religiosity?
Different, like serve, serving, or this politics.
God and country.
His own- their
I'm
own-
on this serving thing. I'm on this. Oh, I got this pamphlet. Oh, yeah, this charity, this patriotism.
So, instead of
Church instead of Christ.
Abiding Christ.
Instead of abiding
what words did
Christ.
he use?
Prayer, sacraments,
And charity.
Yeah, and I'm going to strongly disagree with his sacraments perspective. But prayer, sacraments, and what was the third one?
Charity.
Charity. Charity is what in its spirit-led content. Spirit-led content. I said compost.
You did.
Spirit-led. James, take over. Spirit-led context.
he's gonna have good soil.
To love is to be charitable.
Yes.
So charity is. So he got 2 to 3. We can forgive him for the sacraments because of the church he attends at that time. Now, what
Also,
did
though, the sacraments are the only dramas authorized specifically in Scripture.
what sacraments?
Feeding yourself.
Is it a sacrament? We had a lesson on this. Is the cup and the bread a sacrament?
They call it that.
We call it that, but did God call it a sacrament? No.
He did
What
say,
did he
do
say?
this.
Jesus
he
said,
do
down.
this until I
He's
come.
doing the Passover.
In remembrance.
In the Passover. And they're eating. And he takes the bread. He says, the Passover bread. It's my body. Takes a wine. The Passover wine. That's my blood. Do this. Remember the Passover body and the blood when you do the Passover. It's the Passover. That is, again, in context.
He says as
could.
often as you do this.
Yeah, now that doesn't mean you can't, but that's not. So are you saying a sacrament? Jesus said that when you do the Passover and you eat the bread and you eat the wine, you're remembering this is my body and this is my blood that was shed for you. Is that a sacrament? If that's the sacrament, I would say, okay, Jesus ordained it. But what has the church done with it? We have turned it into a work of the flesh. Instead of remembering, why is it so important to remember the Passover?
Well, 'cause
God
that's-
gave us 7 appointed days. The Passover is one of them.
Well, the church proper has turned the sacrament into exactly what ScrewTape was telling Wormwood to do.
There you go. So,
Now, you could also make the argument that Jesus was observing something that is observed regularly. That was a regular thing.
yeah,
And
every
he-
year.
and
they had
he
the
makes
Passover.
up these points, but these are also regular items. They're common. It was common to eat unleavened bread in that society. It was common to drink wine in that society. And it could be argued that one of the things he was saying was, remember me whenever you do this.
Yeah, whenever, they were doing a Passover. What is this? So I understand your argument, but what is this? They're doing the Passover. And why is it? What has happened is we've taken an appointed feast that our God says we will follow forever, and we've removed that portion, and we've made it a cup and a food that we eat on a regular occasion, losing the spiritual significance of what Jesus did. When Jesus says, when you do this at the Passover, they've been doing it for 1,500 years, 2,000 years. They knew what the Passover was. He's saying they were celebrating the Passover. And Jesus is here to say, I'm going to be the Passover. You watch. So when you do the Passover, remember the Passover which my Father told you to keep. I'm the one. I'm the Passover. So I understand the sacraments of what the churches have done. And I'm not saying it's wrong. What I am saying, it's leavened bread. Because we've lost the Passover, which is the spiritual significance of taking the wine and the bread. And God says, we're going to do that forever. The Passover. So, in context, Jesus was only talking about the Passover. Someone says, well, I want to add to that, and I want to do this once a month. In memory, remember of Jesus, okay. But you see the spiritual fruit we've lost when you have communion without an understanding of the Passover? They go together. That's what Jesus was saying. Together. Okay,
So back to prayer, sacraments, and charity.
And charity.
And red tights. And so yeah, so you make the reality a comical picture and an abstract picture that cannot be believed in. As much as you can't believe in the demon in red tights, you also can't believe in the grandfatherly figure in a pink nightie playing touch fingers with Adam. And so you've got these two comical figures that cannot exist in reality. They're just abstract things in your mind. You have the contract things like the flag and Donald Trump, who stands for all that's right, and God and country.
Very good. And you notice what he says right here. When they believe in us, we cannot make them materialistic skeptics, at least not yet. I have great hope that we shall learn in due time how to emotionalize and mythologize their science. He should be here today. Science. It has been happening. Science is now an emotional and mythological deception.
I am science.
Close their minds to this belief.
Yeah. So what C.S. Lewis saw in his allegory as something in the future, we see back today. It's been fulfilled. Anything else you want to share on this?
No.
Nothing? Okay, so look at the very, very last part.
The end.
Very good.
Are you going to read it for us every week?
Yeah.
He has to be here every week.
I'm not gonna.
Your main
I'm
task.
not gonna read it next time.
'Cause-
I'll memorize that whole thing.
Because you're up next time.
So what does he say our main task is?
Whatever he adopts, that will be what Satan.
As his religion.
Right.
So that'll be incorporated in his religion. So what we're going to see today, and we're seeing it now, is what I call Christian nationalism. You must. Matter of fact, I'm getting bombarded. People telling me that I've got to vote because our vote will change the future. What's wrong with that? Why will not our vote change the future?
It's already written down.
Are you
Yeah.
God?
Yeah, there you go. So they say, so you have a responsibility to vote. Well, no, we have a responsibility to do what God says. And if he says to vote, then vote. And if he says don't, no. But
I got to say, though, the lesser of two evils is still evil.
amen. That is good.
And
You're not gonna kiss him again, are you?
wait a second. For the record, you're not going to kiss me again, are you?
No. No. I kissed him on the head.
That's a holy kiss.
That's right, they'll say each other.
Does it says greet
but
each other
yes.
the holy kiss.
I mean, Tampon Tim is like
What?
really a freak. Not you.
I'm assuming not me.
No. No, Tim Waltz
Oh, Sam Bontemps. You're right.
is.
He's there for Kamala.
Oh man, I'm telling you.
You just gotta go in the men's bathroom.
Yeah, you got to go in the men's room.
Okay, so
So
we only got 2 minutes left. So before we close in prayer, does anybody have anything they want to talk about with what we talked about tonight, or have any questions?
Yeah, I can't vote for anybody who stands for abortion. That's just a line in the sand. That's murder. And anybody who says, well, murder is okay if it's somebody we don't like, or murder is okay if it's somebody that is this needy but not that needy. It's like, at what point does that happen?
Let's extend it. I can't vote for anybody who worships Satan.
Well, there you go. And the people who truly worship, and the people who truly worship God are not on the ticket.
No, exactly. They're not taking. But that's between you and God. You do what you want. But you're going to see a lot of pressure there.
Oh,
And
there's
these
tons of it.
Christians have done what your affectionate uncle was telling Wormwood to do.
And it's amazing because you hear him do it in the same paragraph. Basically, when they're speaking, they talk about the sovereignty of God and how, yes, Israel's in the middle of this thing, but we know Israel's never going to be destroyed because we know Israel has to be there for all of this other stuff to happen. So Israel's going to be there, which means God is going to protect Israel and his sovereignty reigns supreme, blah, 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 blah.
So vote for
and
Trump.
You have to vote for Trump because otherwise this other person is going to get in there.
And God's sovereignty may not work.
It's like, because God's like wringing his hands in the throne room right now going, I sure hope my guy makes it. I mean, come on. Right?
Okay. James, I do thank you for that reading. That was sensational. I really enjoyed it. You have got everybody from now on, he's reading ScrewTape letters 8 next week. That was awesome. I will be prepared just in case James can't make it. Don't make me have to do it. So,
I've got lots of
okay.